If you are new to the North Chapel or visiting, please consider signing the guest book at the back of the church. We are still going by COVID precautions, which have been adapted over the years, but at this point in time, we are still wearing masks during the service, unless you're speaking up here, or we invite you to take off your mask if you're lighting a candle because you've got the 6 feet of distance. During coffee hour downstairs, masks are optional. We have a hearing assistance devices at the back that you're welcome to use. And we also have enlarged versions of the hymnal and of the order of service for anyone that would like to take advantage of those. And Chloe, I'm so glad you're here. She will be available, I think, for taking the children partway through the service. And so thank you for that. The coffee hour is a little bit different these days in that we've decided, well, first of all, we weren't having it for a long time, but now that it's back, we're asking people to take their own cup and to, after you have your coffee, if you would wash it in your cup and your spoon and put them away, that would be very much appreciated. But you're also welcome to stay up here or socialize on the porch or wherever. It's a little cold out for that today, but I have a couple of announcements. One is some of which are mentioned in the program, but this is the last week for donations for the auction, I think the 23rd. And so please get them in or speak to Diane or Mary Blanton if you have other things to donate that you would like to have be part of the auction. There's also a meeting after church in the parlors of our Social Justice Committee, which Joelle is leading up with, along with Leon, to talk about racial conflict, racial issues. And Mary. Oh, and there's a lot of donations for the auction, which are on display. Some of them are here, and some of them are down in the social hall. So if you want a glimpse in person before they're up online, be sure and take a look at some of the beautiful things that have been donated. There's also a meeting at 1 o'clock. It's such a busy day of a group called Hope, and which is an interfaith group that are coming here to talk about it being the year since Ukraine was invaded. And it's to discuss as a community what we can do and rally in support of the Ukraine. Are there any other? Oh, and I have one other thing. When we heard, well, last week when we heard that Chris was going into hospice, we talked about starting a meal train, which is a form of bringing food to people. And Mary Blanton actually set it up, and we had some people sign up for it. And Vassie has said that she doesn't need that at this point. We are providing a meal for her tonight, but if you've signed up for that, we'll be in touch with you later, but we're not going to be going forward with that at this time. And so talk with, again, Mary or me or about that. So if you have a cell phone, please put it in the silent mode or turn it off. And our opening words this morning are from May Sarton. Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart.
First among many of these songs of praises. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Amen. Preparing for the most powerful and the most beautiful of human journeys, gathering practical supplies for the long road home, packing up all we can like life depended on the luggage, on the suitcases and on the backpacks, on the travel boxes sent in advance, on the duffel bags and on the leaving trunks carved of cedar with iron hinges and leather ribbon lashes on the inside, weighted down a bit too heavily with books along the bottom, preparing with every passion and pretending like our preparation matters more than it does and more than it can, knowing otherwise, but not behaving any differently. Packing up so well and so very carefully, this is good for us. It gives the mind something warm to hold. Something warm to hold. That used to be my most accurate description for coffee, from a time before I grew to like the taste. I'm sure that I heard it in a line of poetry somewhere. I'm sure that I've been repeating it ever since. I'm sure that I've been distorting it ever since. In this life, the one I cherish, making it more and more beautiful in the telling and the retelling. Now, I hated when my father did this to me. I pretended to hate it. My father would misremember stories of my life, the life that he gave to me, distorting it more and more with each repetition to suit his needs. And I thought I hated it until he died. And then I missed it. I miss being annoyed by what my father misremembers. Loss is one of the deepest and one of the most important exercises of the heart. It requires a great deal of practice, but we never get very good at it. We all just do our best, and our best is always good enough before the heavens. We know this as an aspect of our theology in this tradition. This beloved community, this circle of bravest souls, so dear and strong we lost a lion. We just lost a friend, and I, for one, am broken and a little bit shattered by it. Chris Lloyd, I just saw you. I just saw you, brother. Just spent time with him this last week. We held on to one another, arm in arm and man to man, all love, no pretenses. I'm not ready, and here it is. We are unprepared, and here we are. Life is sometimes like that, we know. Life is always like this. Even when we make ready, even when we prepare ourselves for the hard days to come, and especially when we know these days are very near at hand, sometimes in the luggage, somewhere in the suitcases, in the backpacks, in the travel boxes, and in the duffel bags, somewhere in the leaving trunks of cedar, iron, and leather are our prayers, and we hope that they guide us. We recall them in times of deepest sorrow. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all I need. She makes me lie down in green meadows, beside still waters she will lead, and she restores my soul. She rights my wrongs and leads me in the path of good things. She fills my heart with song. Good morning and good Sunday. I hope that this new day finds you well. Today is Sunday, February the 19th, and the title of this morning's reflection had been Prisoners of Hope, but I will depart from this for now. What I would like to do instead is move us over and call us forward into a consideration of what I will call the deep stewardship of the church. This isn't anything new to North Chapel, but it's something that we don't speak about very often. We may not know how to talk about it. In order to do this, and this may sound funny because it is a little bit unorthodox, what I'd like to do is share with you a conversation that I'm having with the board. As I think on it now, it is a conversation that really should be had by the congregation, and it dovetails very gently with the news that we've received this morning, so here it is. What I would like to do is read to you from my board report. I don't think the board has received this yet. Oh, you have seen it. Okay. The most radical thing we can do is introduce ourselves to one another. 4 brothers, 3 of them living, approached the chancel to light candles in honor of their mother, Kay. With 4 new tapered candles, they took the old flame from the chalice and offered new words of peace. They jointly lit the pillar candle, 4 lives conjoined in hers. The casket for the memorial service was carried out of the sanctuary right down the middle aisle toward the end of the service to realize, to make real the experience of her departure from us. Kathleen, or Kay Camp, was lost to us on February the 2nd. Born Kathleen Vera Worth and born in her home of Bridgewater Center, the daughter of Earl and Minnie, the wife of Dwight Cabot Camp, her high school sweetheart. They married on the 18th day of July in 1959, and together they spent 70 years cherishing love and life. Mother to 4 sons, grandmother to their beautiful children, second mother to many more, Kay touched many lives with such joy. Beautiful things happen at memorial services. During memorial services for Kay Camp, towards the end, Dwight cried out, "She's gone," in the most stunning and in the most courageous of ways. And after the memorial service, David Dunoth concluded, after the memorial service for David Dunoth had concluded, I fell into a conversation just over here with a woman who had driven down from Toronto. She wanted to be present at the service that day. She came down with her husband and her 2 brave sons, and that family was among 20 or so members of the church in Canada who had taken the 8-hour journey to support the man, the Christian-identified man that they knew and loved so well. Pleased with the service, impressed by North Chapel, and aware of the possible theological differences between their tradition and ours, she said to me, smiling deeply from her heart, "The one thing that we all have in common is Jesus." I wanted to respond. My thoughts ran quickly. They spilled over each other in my mind. I wanted to share how rarely Jesus is mentioned from this free pulpit, even though I wasn't particularly proud of that fact. I was neither proud nor ashamed. I was just aware. I was frustrated at the moment because the mood of the moment made it hard for me to express what I was thinking. I was in conflict. I was in disagreement. I was not at rest. But she was. I frowned and I snarled, I sighed and I smiled. I matched her joy and then just said, yes. We have arguments and reactions within this faith for sure, but we have a real theology too. We stand apart from that theology at our peril. As a board, as leaders of the church, which we all are, we are stewards of this theology. We are the stewards of our shared ministry together. How does this sit with you? According to my reading of our bylaws, this is clearly the case. Our bylaws state the following, Article 2, purpose. The purpose of this society is to provide a free pulpit and a voice for liberal religion, to nurture a religious community bound by no dogma and restricted by no creed. This society is a fellowship of seekers after truth, beauty, and goodness. We strive to be tolerant of the ideas and behaviors of others. We rely on reason, individual freedom, and democracy as our methods. We join together for an understanding of our world, for cooperation, our fellow human beings, cooperation with our fellow human beings, and for enrichment within this community. We seek spiritual and intellectual growth as individuals and in the church. End quote. We tend to cleave to the part about there not being a dogma in this faith, in this tradition, but we tend to shy away from thinking of ourselves as a religious community. We tend to make an art of our discomfort with this language, and this art of discomfort tends to disserve us when someone we love dearly passes away. Unitarian Universalism appeals to those who seek a sense of that spirit that is free. Expressing this free-spiritedness is intensely difficult. It is the challenge of a lifetime. It is among the bravest things we do, but of course we fall short sometimes. And when we fall short, what do? What is our common practice? Our answers to these questions define our collective theology. Our answers to these questions are expressed each Sunday in our pulpit, the limits of which are set by this community and by this community alone. Not by the leaders of this community, by all of us, the same. The quality of our leadership in communities such as this is determined by the quality of our fellowship with one another. Following this, the quality of our fellowship with one another in communities like this is determined by how well and how honestly we know one another. Truly knowing one another takes a challenge. The most radical thing we can do is introduce ourselves to one another. Leaders in such communities are stewards of this great challenge. In a limited sense, we raise money and we manage budgets and we evaluate employees and we schedule events and the like. In a more expansive sense, we pool our resources, we balance our energies, we nurture quality, and we organize life of the church and in the wider community. These are two different languages, two different dreams, two different senses of possibility, the same dollar with different values. Money spends better in the presence of powerful dreams. Powerful dreams. This is the broader stewardship. For example, it is truly important to make sure that we do not mismanage the money that comes through this institution, but far more powerfully, it is important to express its ideals. Ultimately, North Chapel is a values-based endeavor. It does not exist shorn of the good work that it does within the soul and in community. This good work is the deep dream of the church. This is our mission, guided by Unitarian Universalist principles. North Chapel aspires to be a congregation that nurtures the growth and supports the needs of its members, sustains a strong spiritual life with a loving church community, and seeks to have a positive impact in the world around us. This is why we gather. Each of us knows this in our own unique way. So what do we do when visitors from Canada ask us questions like, or say things like, the one thing that we all have in common is Jesus? I suppose that we have a choice. We could respond in a narrow sense, or we could respond in a more broad sense. Now, it's not the job, it's not the stewardship of the leaders, it's not the purpose of shared ministry to prescribe the proper response. That would be a dogma. It is the job of stewardship and shared ministry to be aware of the choice that lies before us and to make that choice wisely and well. An artist writes, "Sometimes I'm happy and other times not so. Years and years of trying and not knowing where to go. How do you do? Good to know you. May we find in our togetherness honest joy." This is not poetry in as much as it's sage advice, and we should take it, because in honest joy, greatest things are possible. Now, a lot of people in this community imagine me as an abstract thinker, and I'm okay with that. But do we get how crazy it is to be strictly practical about the sacred? A church is the wild eye of inspiration. even though the wild part makes us nervous. Lately, Brene Brown is becoming theological. Do you know Brene Brown? Brene is the author of a best-selling book, Daring Greatly. She has become quite famous over the years. She's a lecturer and a consultant. I think her background is social work, MSW. She's some sort of social scientist. And she commonly speaks on themes of shame, vulnerability, and leadership. She tells the story of having been invited to a Fortune 500 company and being invited to talk to them about innovation, creativity, and change. The two provisos were that she needed to abandon the work on shame, and she needed to avoid conversations about vulnerability. She responded that shame is often required for growth, and that vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. She started on the TED Talk circuit, but she is less secular these days. Just recently she said, Jesus comes in and says, I am love, okay? I am love. I sit with the people that you're not allowed to talk to. I do all of the hard things. I make all of the hard choices. The people who are unlovable, I love. I feed the people who were not supposed to be taken care of. And I don't tolerate shame. I don't tolerate attacks. I am love. It's hard and it's messy and it's dirty. And if you really love, I mean fierce, big love, then you'll become dangerous to people. I'm being this heavily theological this morning because we need big, fierce love these days. I'm being heavily theological because we just lost so many in Turkey and Syria. And absent the theological realm, there's no public conversation that's large enough, strong enough to hold the magnitude of this loss that I know of. This coming Sunday, today, a 7-year-old kid might be asking downstairs, what do we do with the magnitude of that loss? And what do you think we should tell them? How should we advise Chloe about how to lead in moments like these? My friend and colleague, Reverend Nadiashka Bolsweber, just recently posted on Facebook, which is a crazy place to go to church, but she did. She wrote, God took all of the sin upon God's own broken body and then, in response, gave us nothing but forgiveness, blessedness, and resurrection. And something was accomplished to me, she says. To me, something was accomplished there for all people, all things, and all of creation. And I think it's God's nature to redeem us and all of creation continually, and that God is working this out, even if we don't see it all the time. And that's God's work, and that's God's nature, and it feels like good news to me. This may or may not be consistent with your personal theology, but it is a category of spirit that is large enough, tough enough, strong enough to hold the magnitude of what it is we face these days. It was enough years ago to be spiritually rebellious, and it is still so fruitful today. In fact, I highly encourage it. My favorite theologians are pirates, spiritual pirates. But it seems to me that this is no longer enough. Reasonable people can argue about this, but why should we mention it? Healthy churches do not foreclose on ideas as rich as these. Healthy churches magnify these values. So what should North Chapel do with ideas and values as rich as these? That's my question before the board. I brought 2 guitars to see Chris Lloyd last week because he asked me to. He was concerned more about his family than he was about himself. We read through an old songbook of his and came across the one song that I knew how to play on the acoustic, "O Guide Me, O Thou Great Jehovah." It's in our hymnal as God of Grace and God of Glory, hymn number 115. In Singing the Living Tradition. But we sang the original words. When I tread the verge of Jordan and bid my anxious fears subside, death of death and hell's destruction lands me safe on Canaan's side. Songs of praises I will ever give to thee. We cannot adequately prepare for the many losses that we suffer in life. We cannot adequately prepare for the loss of life. We can make ready, though, the spaciousness in our spirit and the strength inside of our hearts for a love that knows no end, not even now. We can prepare the sacred passageway forward that is beautiful enough now as it is at life's beginning, embracing that end and its brand new day as well, and its brand new day as one, ennobling them, for they are inextricably linked, and inviting them boldly to enter in together. So welcome to this brave spirit, and welcome to all of us. Welcome to the dreamers and to the seekers of spirit, bold and bashful in the quest. Welcome to the wanderers and to the worshipers here to give their souls a rest. Welcome to the open ones and to the broken ones among us, and to every blissfully imperfect soul who is just like me, blessed and beloved beneath the lucky stars of heaven, given in care and compassion for one another, given as we all are with and for one another, in compassion so level deep, in good times and in tempest, in conflict and in consensus, held whole and honored by a love that knows no bounds. May it be so. Blessed be. And amen. If it is true that freedom is nothing more than being able to choose one's own cage, may we choose our connection, our confinement, our constraint in a loving and powerful way. May we choose in such a way that keeps us imprisoned to hope. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? I know a dear friend who appreciates that line. May we hold one another in this peace. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.